In this essay, Structures of Scientific Evolutions, the author introduces the fundamental ideas from both sides of the overall argument on evolution and religion. He explains that this perpetual debate has in recent times taken a turn from its original argument. The ideologies of the advocates of evolution, rather than attacking the individual ideals of a specific religion or group of few religions, now embraces a religion and describes it as a constantly evolving metaphysical realm altogether. They use biology to describe this evolution of religion in stating that just as the genes that are transmitted down from generation to generation, so too are the memes transmitted from mind to mind, and thus vulnerable to evolution of the mind as the body is susceptible to physical evolution. The counter-argument that the author decides to introduce in the paper is from the statements of a Mr. Nicholas Wade. These counter-arguments consist of statements saying that the belief of God and the ideals of God have not evolved, and it would be a disappointment to the father of evolution, Darwin, to say so. He says that it is simple that what has happened, and that his belief in God and about God and understanding God has just undergone developments, simple developments throughout the course of mankind. He concludes by stating that the God of title owes nothing to Darwin. After both arguments are clearly and sufficiently presented, the author gives a description of his own beliefs toward the situation. He says that it is hyperbolic to say that just as the genes are passed down, so too are the memes of mankind. He says that one is simply procreation, as the other is a more complex Ophelia syndrome-esque process that must be modeled by the individual. Therefore, this cultural inheritance isn't vulnerable in the same exact ways that our biological genes are to evolution. He also believes that Wright does, that biology is not the only influence in the architecture of the human being, and that we are physical, chemical, biologically designed, culturally guided organisms. He concludes that indeed God owes much to Darwin, and vice versa, Darwin owes much to God. The author wrote it best when he said that we are physical, chemical, biologically designed, culturally guided organisms, that this is the architecture behind the human being. His use of dialectical thinking to fabricate an explanation for the predicament makes for a more accurate description. He does, however, leave much hanging, in that we may take what he said and use that as a starting tool to develop our own perception of this dilemma. This is what I take from the essay. Religion is, in many ways, as both write it out to be. Religion was and is an arbitrary school of thought, a sort of realm or domain of insight devoted to answer the unanswerable and transcendental phenomena that exist in our life and in the universe. Religion in general is quite susceptible to constant development and quite on the contrary subject to extreme conformity as well. Examples of both would be the Christian religion. The multifarious sects and cults dubbed denominations is an example of the development of these theological shifts, a sort of ideological paradigm shift. On the other hand, the existence of the seemingly immutable ritualisms of the Catholic Church prove its acquiescence throughout its existence and its steadfast in its development. I believe that indeed one of the religions has it right in their aspect of God and the limited understanding of such a being. However, religion has almost nothing to do with that anymore. The traditionalism that religion abides in is much more significant than fully understanding and serving God. And as long as this is true of religion, the conventional traditionalism that it brings shall be paramount in its vulnerability towards modifications and development and even evolution in religion. Take care.